Hey, what's good, y'all? It's the Carolina Kid here to do again what y'all hate doing. I'm talking about reading. Thank y'all for tuning in to Reading with Enthusiasm. And yeah, we still into this, the 7 habits of highly effective families. And y'all, the segment I'm in today is apologizing. This is a dope segment too. So check me out. You know I ain't gonna waste no time, right into it. Perhaps there is nothing that tests our proactive capacity as much as saying, I'm sorry to another person. If your security is based on your image or your position or on being right, to apologize is like draining all the juice from your ego. It wipes you out. It pushes every one of your human gifts to its limits. Colleen is one of his daughters. She said, several years ago, Matt and I went up to the cabin to be with the whole family for Christmas. I don't remember the details, but for some reason I was supposed to drive mom to Salt Lake City the next day. As it happened, I already had another obligation and couldn't do it. When Dad heard my response, he just exploded, totally lost it. You're being selfish, he said. You really need to do this. And he said a lot of other things he didn't mean. Surprised by his abrasive response, I started crying. I was deeply hurt. I was so used to his being understanding and considerate all the time. In fact, in my whole life, I can remember only about 2 times that he really lost his temper with me. So it took me aback. I shouldn't have taken offense, but I did. Finally, I said, okay, I'll do it, knowing he wouldn't listen to my conflict. I headed home and my husband came with me. We're not going back tonight, I said. I don't even care if we miss the family Christmas party. And all the way down the canyon, I was harboring bad feelings. Shortly after we got home, the phone rang. Matt answered it. He said, it's your dad. I don't want to talk to him, I said, still hurt, but I really did. So I finally picked up the phone. Darling, he said, I apologize. There's really no excuse that could justify my losing my temper with you. But let me tell you what's been going on. He told me that they had just started building the house. Finances had been swelling up. Things at the business were kind of shaky. And then with the Christmas and the whole family being there, he had felt so much pressure he blew up and I received the burn end of it. I just took it all out on you, he said. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I then returned the apology, knowing I had overreacted. Dad's apology was a big deposit in my emotional bank account. And we had had a great relationship to begin with. Matt and I went back up that night. I rearranged my schedule for the next day, took my mom to Salt Lake City, and it was as if nothing had happened. If anything, my dad and I grew closer because he could apologize immediately. I think it took a lot for him to be able to step back from the situation so quickly and say, I'm sorry. Even though our temper may surface only 1/100% of the time, it will affect the quality of all the rest of the time if we do not take responsibility for it and apologize. Why? Because people never know when they might hit our raw nerve. So they're always inwardly worried about it and defending themselves against it by second guessing our behavior and curbing their own natural, spontaneous, intuitive responses. The sooner we learn to apologize, the better. World traditions affirm this idea. The Far Eastern expression is so apt here. If you're going to bow, bow low. A great lesson is also taught in the Bible about paying the uttermost farthing. Agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence, till thou hast paid the uttermost farthing. There are undoubtedly a number of ways to apply this instruction in our lives, but one way may be this. Whenever we disagree with others, we need to quickly agree with them, not on the issue of disagreement. That would compromise our integrity, but on the right to disagree, to see it the way they see it. Otherwise, to protect themselves, they will put us into a mental emotional prison in their own mind. And we won't be released from this prison until we pay the uttermost farthing, until we humbly and fully acknowledge our mistake and not allowing them the right to disagree. And we must do this without in any way saying, I'll say I'm sorry if you'll say you're sorry. If you attempt to pay the uttermost farthing by merely trying to be better and not apologizing, other people may still be suspicious and keep you behind these prison bars, behind the mental and emotional labels they have put on you that give them some feeling of security and knowing not to expect much from you. We all blow it from time to time. In other words, we get off track. And when we do, we need to own up to it, humbly acknowledge it, and sincerely apologize. Honey, I'm so sorry I embarrassed you in front of your friends. That was wrong of me. I'm going to apologize to you and also to your friends. I should never have done that. I got on some kind of an ego trip with you, and I'm sorry. I hope you will give me another chance. Sweetheart, I apologize for cutting you off that way. You were trying to share something with me that you feel deeply about, and I got so caught up in my own agenda that I just came on like a steamroller. Will you please forgive me? Notice again in these apologies how all four gifts are being used. First, you're aware of what's happening. Second, you consult your conscience and tap into your moral or ethical sense. Third, you have a sense of what is possible. What would be better? And fourth, you act on the other three. If any one of these four is neglected, the entire effort will break down, and you will end up trying to defend, justify, explain, or cover up the offensive behavior in some way. You may apologize, but it's superficial. It's not sincere. Told y'all that was good stuff on apologizing right there. And, to recap on it a little bit, I just want to say, apologizing is so much more than just saying I'm sorry. It's swallowing your ego. It's pushing your pride aside, being aware of your wrongdoings, and making the conscious effort, to make things better, to change the situation for positive gain. And I know our temper gets the best of us at times, but just as quick as you lose your temper, you have to be just as quick to apologize. Take accountability and responsibility for where you were wrong in a situation. Don't allow your last impression with someone to be distasteful or rude. Mend that relationship. Fix it. Especially if you were wrong in it, admit it. Allowing the relationship to do what it's supposed to do. If you want to get past that point, of stagnant motion with any relationship that you have with anyone, you have to take initiative sometimes. You got to take that initiative and say, I'm sorry. Or take that initiative and say, I forgive you. Whatever it is, so that the relationship can continue on. And it is okay to agree to disagree with someone. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. But it is not okay to feel like, all your statements make the most sense into dollars, and everybody else's statements is just cliche or absurd. Like, y'all, we have to humble ourselves at times. We have to humble ourselves and, have our ears open, listening to other people's perspectives and opinions. And we can't disrespect that. And, don't block somebody else's blessing, because it didn't come from you. You're not the only one out here spreading the good gospel. You're not the only one out here with a good message. You're not the only one out here encouraging people, edifying people. So when you hear, somebody else spreading a word, affirm and confirm it. Don't discredit it. Especially if it's truth. Stand in its corner, no matter where it's coming from. Truth is truth. Surrender to it. So that's all I got to say on that, though. Carolina Kid out.